Here at Gym Launch, we have trained over 6,000 gym owners to sell over $1.5 billion in new fitness memberships over the last 9 years. In this video, I'm going to teach you 42 overcomes for every kind of objection and the framework. We teach our clients to isolate and diffuse any kind of excuse or objection that they face inside of their gym. My name is Cale Owen, CEO of Gym Launch, and we help gym owners get more members and more money. Now, there are 4 buckets that objections are going to fall into: price, partner, so think like spouse or decision maker, timing, and then fear. Now, the best salespeople, and if they have the right process, will pre-handle most objections up front. If you find yourself consistently facing the same objections like timing or partner issues over and over again, it's a red flag alert for you to address them earlier in the sales meeting. However, we all know that objections are going to happen. In fact, closing doesn't actually start until you ask for the sale. But trying to guess our way or overpower prospects to a close is never the answer. That's why we teach our clients a framework that is so powerful, it makes it easy to remember what you need to do, when you need to do it, and how you should do it. Like a cheat sheet, it ensures you follow the same proven process every single time. It's called the AID framework. And when you master it, handling objections becomes effortless. Now, I learned this framework from Eli Sanchez. There's lots of different variations out there. Alex Ramosi has one. They're all great. They're phenomenal. This is kind of, from my brain, a lot easier and what we teach our clients, right? So shout out to Eli for this, but it stands for agree, isolate, and diffuse. AID. Anytime there's an objection, we always want to agree first. When they say, let me talk to my wife, you want to agree or acknowledge that by saying something like this: yes, happy wife, happy life, I totally get it. Or you could say something like, totally normal, I hear what you're saying. If they say something about price and they say it's too expensive, you can say something like, yeah, I hear you, totally get it, I know it's an investment. If it's timing and they say, I don't know if now's the right time, you could say something like, yeah, we want you to be comfortable more than anything. I hear you. Notice how this doesn't create resistance. We don't want them to feel like we're in this fight back and forth and it's you against me. We want them to understand that we're on their side and that we understand them. So the first step in that AID framework is agree. Next, and most importantly, we have to isolate the objection. If you've done any type of selling before, you've probably experienced the objection hopping, where a prospect goes from one objection to the next. First it's price, then you offer a payment plan, and then they hit you with the let me check with my wife, then it's the not the right time, and then they're not sure they can do it. And we want to confront that immediately to get to the real objection, the one that's actually keeping them from moving forward. When the first objection comes up, let's say it's partner. You agree first. Yeah, happy wife, happy life. I totally understand. Then you follow up with the next thing. Before you have that chat with her, do you feel like this can help you get the results that you want? They're gonna say yes. And then you can say, okay, and what might be some of the potential resistance points that she might have about you doing this, if any? They come back with, it's the price. They said that. Now we've isolated the price might be the primary objection, and we start the whole process all over again. You agree. Yeah, I know it's an investment. I hear you. Just so I can be clear on my end, price point aside, you mentioned that you feel like this can get you the results you want. What are some of the highlights that make you say it could work? They're going to give you some reasons. And then you can come back with, okay, so it's not an if this can work for you. It's more of a how can we make this work financially for you and your wife? Notice it's a question, so tonality goes up. They're gonna be like, yes. Okay, great. Now you've isolated the real objection. Once we isolate the objection, we now move to diffuse, which is the actual objection handling. Let's take the example that we just used, right? You've isolated the price. Now we need to diffuse it. And you can say something like this: well, I know from everything that you mentioned about your current situation and the issues you've been facing that this is most important. So we could do best of both worlds. Keep you happy and also keep your wife happy, and just do a simple partial payment down today, and then we'll just split the remaining payments up so that we can still start on getting you results right away, but you'll still save the upfront cash for other things. Would that make it easier? See how simple and seamless that is? It limits resistance, it separates the real objection from the smoke screens, and it helps overcome it. And that is the power of this framework, all right? So now that we understand the framework, let's go over actual overcomes for the 4 main buckets. We've got price, partner, timing, and fear. You'll notice that many of them will have the elements of the AID framework woven into them. For price, we've already covered the lower down payment close, but here's a simple price objection overcome that we call the delayed payment close. And it works really well if you run challenges that start on a future date, or you can start their monthly membership next month. So the prospect pushes back on price. You've already isolated the objection and you've already tried a drop down price point or sale. Here's what you're gonna say then. Okay, well, if I could reserve your spot without you putting any money down, would that make it easier? They're gonna say yes, of course. And then you say, okay, cool. Let's get you all set up and reserve your spot. I'll just delay your deposit date to the day it starts. Cool? Okay, great. Okay, so for this next one, here's a simple half down today overcome for when a prospect gives you a price objection. And this one works like crazy. and it goes like this. If you can't afford the entire thing today, it's not a problem. In fact, 95% of our clients break it up into payments. Actually, did you see Becky walk out the door before you came in? No? Oh, well, I swear you two could be life twins. She's the same age, has a son, she's a nurse too, and she wanted to do the program but wasn't able to pay it all today. So what we did for her was we just split it up. So quick question, when do you get paid? Every other Friday? Great. That's how Becky was too. What we did with her was we did half today and then half on our next payday, which is next Friday. Does that work for you? Notice how we agreed with them first, and then we associated them with someone else just like them who we found a solution for. If you do that, you're going to close more memberships. Now, if you're a gym owner that offers money back guarantees, this close is a great one to use when a prospect objects over the price, and it goes like this. You know what's interesting? Not sure if you've ever done this, but whenever I'm nervous about spending a good deal of money, I always think like, what's the best case, worst case? Like right now, best case scenario. You start the program and you get to your dream goal. You lose 30 pounds, get back into those jeans that you've been hiding in the back of your closet, and you wake up every day with more energy. Would you be happy about that? Okay, cool. Me too. So that's best case. And if that happens, you're happy, I'm happy, everyone's happy. Now let's cover the worst case. What's the worst case? Well, I take your money, I go to Vegas, I lose it all at the roulette table on one spend, and you lose no weight. But let's be real though. In reality, that's probably not really the worst case scenario, is it? The worst case would be if we don't actually deliver on the quality of service that I'm promising you. So you put in all this work and then we don't actually deliver. But in that case, I'll personally write you a check for what you paid. Why do I do that? Well, it's simple. It's because out of the thousands of people who have gone through this program, only 2 have taken me up on my refund offer. So I know that I can give you 100% service guarantee that you will get service far in excess of what you're investing. And if on the last day, you think that we sucked, I'll give you all that money right back to you. Sound fair? Okay, so that was one best case. Now let's do another best case, worst case. If you're a gym owner that doesn't offer money back guarantees, this close right here is a great one to use when a prospect objects over the price, and it goes like this. Totally understand, Susie. It is an investment, but the good news is that you remind me of Rosie actually, who came in a few months ago. She said the same thing, and she ended up actually doing the program. You know why? It's because we talked about it and I told her, if you cared this much about the money, then I know you're going to be successful because it means so much to you. And believe it or not, this being out of your budget makes you just like 95% of the people who do this program. And the reason we have the success rates we do is that it's such a big investment. People take it so seriously. So Susie, what's the worst that could happen if you invest in this? Then the prospect will probably say, I lose $600. And then you say, right. So $600 means a lot to you. I don't think you would pay for it and not get results because I think you would be really dedicated to the program if you put that much money down. So the real worst case scenario is that you walk out of the door right now and you get guaranteed no results. So we've kind of got 2 options here and they're both risk-free, but only one of them will get you the body that you want. The other one is guaranteed to leave you exactly as you came in, or hopefully not, potentially heavier. So which door would you prefer? The one with no risk where you get the body that you want, or the one with no risk where you are guaranteed not to get the body that you want? All right, now, next one. If you are a gym owner struggling with overcoming price objection, here's how you can use a story to overcome it and close them. And it goes like this. I totally understand. I had a woman just like you, same job, 3 kids, running around all the time, putting everyone else first. And she came to the same conclusion, which was that she didn't have the money to do the program. So I told her a story about 2 girls at a makeup store and how it changed my life forever. Is it cool with you if I share with you? Okay, awesome. So we tend to vote with our dollars about the things that we care about, right? Because we can say that we care about X, Y, and Z, but what really matters at the end of the day is where we spend our money. The things we really care about, we spend our dollars on. So if we want to change the things that we care about, we have to change the way that we vote with our dollars. And so this story really breaks down the same perception shift that this other person went through, which you'll also have to go through at some point in order to actually achieve these health goals that you really want. And so the story is like this 14-year-old girl went to Sephora or MAC or whatever, one of those makeup stores with one of her friends. And the makeup lady there has said, you need one of these pencils, you need one of these lipsticks, some mascara, basically like a makeup starter kit, right? And then the makeup lady there that was showing her all this, she's like, okay, I want you to understand that moving forward, you're basically a grown-up now. So you'll need to start budgeting for things like this, because once you start, there's no going back, because this is something that you're going to start spending money on regularly now. Okay. When I heard this, I was like, man, that is so interesting, because that expenditure got the girl super excited. She wasn't down. She actually was like very excited. She's like, yes, I'm all in. It was interesting because it marked the transition from being a girl to accepting her new identity as a woman. And she had it with pride. She was like, great, I am going to invest in this. I am going to vote with my dollars on this because this turns me basically into a woman. And with that new identity came new priorities for her. And so right now, what we're talking about is you going from a woman who's unsatisfied with how she looks, whose day-to-day habits aren't helping her get to her goal, to a woman who is satisfied with how she looks and feels and one who has better habits, right? You want to have that fit identity. And part of that new identity comes with new priorities for where you spend your money. And if you really break it down right now, like if we think about it, we're only talking about X dollars per day, right? On top of that, here's the thing most women don't see, but eventually discover after committing to our program. With that new identity actually comes new savings, because you're not going to go out to drink as much. You're not going to spend as much money on junk food or on doctor visits. A lot of other things come with this new identity that will actually save you money. What we need to do for you is bring these new priorities along with you so that we can solidify that identity shift so that you can get what you're looking for. And you're not just trying to lose weight. You're actually becoming that new identity, that fitter, better woman, because that woman, the one that has that shift in identity, that woman spends money on health, on supplements, on coaching, so she can become the best version of herself. And the great news is you only have to budget for this once. And if you really want to become that new person, then at some point you're going to have to vote yes. So let's just vote yes on you today. Sound cool? If you're a gym owner struggling with overcoming a price objection, here is a simple overcome you can use that we call the have you ever bought something you couldn't afford to overcome? Yes, that is a mouthful, but here it is. It goes like this. So let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever bought something that you couldn't really afford at the time? Prospects is probably going to say yes. And then you say, okay, interesting. Now, I assume you didn't go homeless or run out of food to eat, right? Although, like, real talk, for a weight loss diet, if you run out of money for food, that would actually help you hit your goal faster, but we never want that. But you get what I'm saying, right? We often worry and we end up at the end of the day making it work. And what's interesting is it actually reminds me of one of my clients, a single mom who drives Uber one day on the weekends so she can do this. And I work with her by spacing out the payments so they lined up with her paydays. And I know from everything that you mentioned about your current situation, all the issues that you've been facing, that this is the most important thing. So we could just, right now, instead of having to worry about this price right now, what we can do is do a simple partial payment down today and split the remaining payments up. So we can still start on getting you the results right away, but you'll still save that upfront cash for other things. Would that make it easier? Here's an overcome that you can use as a gym owner that we call the if it means a lot, I know you will succeed overcome. And this one is for price objections. And it goes like this. It totally is expensive. And believe it or not, this being out of your budget makes you just like 95% of the people who do this program. And the reason that we have the success rates that we do is that it's such a big investment. People actually take it seriously because of that. So do you have any doubt that if you followed the meal plan, if you worked out with a trainer and had an accountability coach, that you wouldn't succeed? Of course not. Right? The money is there to hold you accountable. If this wasn't a lot of money, you probably wouldn't really care that much about it, right? This is an investment, and that's why I can look you in the eyes and I can tell you that you are going to succeed. So let's get you set up and reserve your spot today. Here's an overcome if you have a prospect that's saying they can get a gym membership for cheaper somewhere else. And it goes like this. Let's say the prospect says, I could go to Planet Fitness for $15 a month. And you say, I hear you. I am curious though. If all else were equal, price, everything else, and you had the 6 weeks of gym access at Planet Fitness with no coaching, no guidance, no nutrition, no one looking out for you, or you could do our 6-week program that includes all of that, which one would you do? They're going to say your program. And then you keep saying, great, why? And then all you do is just keep asking why to get multiple reasons so that they can basically convince themselves as to why they should do the program. Then after they convince themselves, you say, now you see why our program costs more, because you're actually going to see results. It's that simple. Here's a really short overcome for a price objection that you can use if you're going around and around in circles on price. And it's called the you'll pay either way overcome. And it's really simple. It goes like this. I agree. It's a significant amount of money, but you will pay either way. You wouldn't be here if you had made this investment earlier, right? And the amount of money and time that it will take will only increase if you keep delaying. So how about this? Let's just get this done and let's just get you started today. Here's a short overcome if someone is stuck on price, and it's what we call the 2 choices overcome. And it goes like this. All right, so here's the deal, right? At the end of the day, you kind of have 2 choices. You can get yet another thing that doesn't hurt to buy because you and I both know that it won't actually do anything. Or you can invest in yourself and we can just solve this problem for good. If you look at the value of your time and what being in amazing shape for every picture, event, summer with the kids, and other events in your life, don't you think that this would be worth it? If you're a gym owner and a prospect isn't sure that they should do this because they've tried other programs in the past and they didn't work for them, use this overcome. It's called the don't let past mistakes burn you twice overcome. And it goes like this. I totally understand that you spent a lot of money on this in the past and it didn't work for you. But the worst thing that you can let happen is for that experience to burn you twice. The way that I look at it It's kind of like just because something went wrong in the past doesn't mean you can't move forward. Of course, we have to figure out a way to move forward, right? That's what success is, right? If you ever had like your first girlfriend or boyfriend and that didn't work out, it doesn't mean that you just write off all relationships the rest of your life, right? Because that's not reality. Because it's just not really the case. And I think the case is anyone would feel what you're feeling based off where you're at. The question isn't, do I have some hesitation? The question is, based on the information that I have, what's the best thing that I can do right now to put myself in the best situation for the future that I want? And so just to kind of ask you what's showing up for you, what do you feel might be the best thing that you could do? All right, we've covered the price objection overcomes. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to the partner objection ones, all right? So this one is if you're a gym owner and a prospect says something like, I need to talk to my husband or I never make decisions alone, here's the 4 agreements clause and it goes like this. Totally understand. I'm curious though, does your husband know that you're here right now? Prospect's gonna be like, yes. And you're like, okay, great. Does he know that you're not happy with how you look? They're gonna be like, yes, okay. Does he want you to be healthy and feel better? They're of course going to be like, yes. And you're like, okay, then is there any reason that he'd say no to this, given the fact that he already knows you're here, that you're unhappy with how you look, and he supports you in getting healthy? Usually what's going to happen at that point is you can easily get that overcome and just be like, cool, if there's any issues, and we'll get into this in just a second, but basically it's like, cool, we can just close you right there. But if that doesn't work, you can also stack on the following obstacle overcomes, right? You get to it and they still aren't doing it. They want to make a decision. They need to talk to their spouse, right? And they say, I need to talk to my spouse. You go through the whole thing and they're still like, I got to talk to my spouse. You can just simply just ask them, what if your spouse says no? They're probably going to say a couple different things. Option 1 is they're going to be like, I'd do it anyways. Then all you got to say is basically, awesome, let me get your ID so I can save you a spot. But if they say, then I wouldn't do it. So like if you're like, what if your spouse says no? And they're like, then I wouldn't do it. You can say something like this. Totally makes sense. What is it that you think that your spouse wouldn't approve of? What do you think their main concern would be? Is it the price, the program? Is it me? Which one is it? Then you pivot to overcome whatever new obstacle that they have, because that's going to come up and you want to isolate those. Here's the kicker with this. And I'm going to stop for 1 second because I want to park here. It's really, really important to make sure that with the partner or decision maker type of objections, you don't want to have them walk out and be the person that communicates basically the entire program to their spouse or partner. You want to control that. And so one of the best ways is just be like, cool, can we get them on the phone? Can we chat with them right now? Because you're the one that knows your program better than anything else. And it's way better if you're the one doing it. You don't want to entrust someone else who heard it for the first time to go and tell their spouse, who's probably heard their own spouse, the same person, try multiple different things and fail. You don't want it to come from them. You want it to come from you as much as possible. All right. Now, here's another angle that you can take on this one. Basically, just ask them very gently, does your spouse approve of your current situation? Do they think that you're happy with your weight? Do they know that you're not happy about it? And what they will say is that their spouse obviously doesn't approve, doesn't think they're happy, like, etc. Then what you're going to say is, okay, so if they know that you're not happy about it and they don't approve of your current situation, then what might be the reasons that they would be against you improving your circumstances? Here's what I'll do. I'll tell you what. Let's get your spot saved so you don't miss out. And if you go home and you tell your spouse that you've done something to fix a situation that they already don't approve of, and they say, no, honey, you know what? I want you to be a bad example for our kids, have less energy, feel terrible, feel less confident about yourself, and you know what? I want you to live 10 years less. Then I will be more than happy to refund your deposit, though I would like to have a chat with your spouse before that happens, regardless of that. That's a really easy one. You got to make sure when you use that, it's just kind of a playful tonality, okay? Or what you can do in this situation is you can say this. Well, quick question for you. Is this something that you really want to do? Because if not, the last thing I want to do is convince you to get healthy if you would prefer not to be. So you do. Okay, cool. So you do want to do this. Great. Well, I know that my spouse would never tell me no for something that I really want. Just like I wouldn't tell her no for something that she really wants, because I know that she deserves it. In the end, if I need to cut spending from somewhere else, then I will. But at the end of the day, we always make it work. Those are the partner overcomes. I will say this too, going back to the decision maker side. These are the ones that are most frustrating, because basically at the end of the day, someone is abdicating their responsibility to make their own decisions. And so they are passing on their responsibility and control of their own life to someone else. One simple thing that you can really hit on is that a lot of people feel like they need to ask permission when they should just simply be asking for support. That's a huge difference. And that's something that you can do. And you can go out and just be like, Susie, it seems to me right now that you feel like you kind of need to go ask for permission, when in reality, you probably should be asking for support. Am I off on that? Because then what it does is it helps them understand, oh, you know what? I am in control of my own decisions and this is what I should be doing. All right. Now, those are the partner overcomes. Now let's get into the timing overcomes. So like delays and I need to think about it, all that stuff. All right. So if you're a gym owner and a prospect says that they left their wallet at home, so they're just trying to stall, they're delaying. Here's what you can say. No problem. Do you have your phone on you? Great. Okay. You just pull up your banking app. On your banking app, you can either go to your statements or it's somewhere in there. You can just find your account number in the top right. And then I'll just Google your routing number while you do that. And then we can just do what's known as ACH. Cool? Great. Super easy overcome if they're like, I left my wallet. I don't have my wallet. I don't have my card. You can just do ACH. What about if a prospect says that they don't want to jump in too quickly? Well, here's a really good one that I learned from Eli Sanchez, and it's called the 3 beliefs close. Let's say a prospect says, it's just like, I don't want to jump into something too quick. If I'm not in the right spot, I think maybe next month might be better for me to join. I really want to make sure that it's something that I'm dedicated to. Then all you're going to say is, yeah, 100%. One of the best things that I've learned is, and I think you'll like it, is you need to think about really 3 things. Number 1, you have to realize, like, is this possible for other people to have success, right? Well, of course, it's possible for other people to have success with our program. Question number 2 is it possible for you to have success? Of course. The answer is yes, 100%. It's totally possible for you to have success. Really the question, and I can't answer this third question, but the third question is it worth it? Because you've seen the reviews. It's possible for other people. You're capable of doing it because you've already had some success, right? You just kind of had the wrong setup in the past. So it is possible for you to get these results, but the question really is it worth it? Because the answer is not like, yes, this is an easy thing, right? It is a little uncomfortable, but the question is it worth it? Because if you're saying, I don't want things to get worse, I know I'm capable of so much more. I don't want to have any regrets. 2 years can fly by and I can be in the totally worst position if I don't go for this. Then maybe it is worth it to be a little uncomfortable now so you can get the future that you want. I got to ask you, in your opinion, do you feel like this could be worth it for you? Really smooth, really easy overcome to really address that problem right there. All right. Now, here is an overcome for when a prospect says, I don't make fast decisions. I need to sleep on it. Just be like this. I totally agree. And saying yes now would actually not be considered a fast decision because you've needed this for years, like we talked about earlier. Doing it now is reasonable, right? You even came in because now is the right time, despite thinking about it for the last 4 or 5 years. So if anything, signing up now is the most logical decision you can make given the years that you've been wanting this. Or if you have the same thing, you could also say this. I totally understand, but you've been making this decision for the last 3 years, which is why you've tried X, Y, and Z. See, you've already made the decision that you want to lose weight. All we're doing now is we're exploring the way you're going to do it. And now we know the reasons that you failed in the past because of the lack of fitness, nutrition, or accountability. But now we have all 3 of those problems covered and an awesome opportunity for you that is going to go away. So let's just do it. Now, if you're a gym owner and a prospect hits you with the objection, I'm probably going to be too busy, here's what you say. I hear you. Is it cool if I share something that I've learned over time? Okay, cool. The thing is that there's never really going to be a good time. You're always going to be busy, right? Now it's back to school stuff. Next month, it's going to be Halloween. And then after that, it'll be Thanksgiving and then Christmas. Then it'll be a birthday and then your friend's birthday. And then you realize you're getting donuts because it's a Tuesday. See, there will always be something. But here's the question, right? Is looking the way that you want to look more important than that? If you're going to get into the shape that you've always wanted, you're going to have to realize that life is never going to make it convenient. That's why so few people are where they want to be. It's about whether or not you actually want to solve what you walked in to solve. Because I can tell you, if you want to make it a lifestyle, the best time to figure it out is when you are busy. Because if you figure it out when you're busy, then when life gets easy, it'll be a breeze because it's already a habit. But if you're always wishing for life to not be busy, then the moment it gets busy again, you'll fall off. So we got to figure this out now so we can get this problem solved for good. See, the truth is that you'll either decide to continue with what you have or you're going to decide to get what you deserve, right? And the question is whether you're going to reward yourself with something that you need and want or continue with something that you don't want, don't need, and no longer solves your problems. Here's another overcome for when a prospect uses an objection like this. I have my kids and soccer practice, so it's just going to be hard. All you got to do is just do this. Totally understand. And that's why we have a group of moms here who are dedicated to helping one another out. In fact, Jessica, single mom with 4 kids, works an extra shift to afford coming here, but she says, if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of them because I don't have the energy or the stamina. So right now, if you're exhausted and you feel like you're spread too thin, it's not because you have too much to do, but because we need to increase your capacity to do things. And hear me out on this. That's why people start exercising and eating, right? Because their family situation isn't exactly going to change anytime soon. So expecting that to change isn't really reasonable, right? So we need to make this work with the schedule that you've got, not the one that you'd like, because that ain't ever gonna happen. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being you wanna go home, you wanna eat cake and ice cream forever, you wanna forget about me or fitness forever, and 10 being that you wanna totally transform your life, become supermom and take action today, where are you? And they're basically gonna give you a number. Let's just say it's a 7. And then you say, nice, okay, why is it a 7 instead of a 2? And then they're gonna give you all the reasons that it's a 7 instead of a 2. And then you're gonna say, okay, why isn't it a 10 with all those reasons that you just told me? And then the discussion might continue like this, right? They might give you some of those things and then it's like, okay, well, I have kids and I don't want them to suffer if I make this a priority and they take up so much time. And then you're just gonna be like, what if doing this one thing will help you be better at all of those other things so that you could be the best wife, mother, friend, and daughter? Wouldn't that make this a 10? And they're gonna come back with something like basically like this. Yes, I suppose so. And then all you have to say is, well, if this is a 10, then it means that it's a priority. So let's just do it. All right, now let's do another one. Okay, if you're a gym owner that's ever had the prospect use the excuse, I need time to think about it, here's an overcome that you can use right now. Not a problem. Do you need 2 or 3 days, or are we talking 2 or 3 months to think about it? And they're gonna look at you like you're weird and when you say 2 to 3 months. But what you're gonna follow up with is, the reason that I ask is because it actually doesn't really matter how long you have. Either way, you're just gonna have to confront the decision and answer 3 simple questions. Can I tell you what they are? Cool. Now, real quick, after each question, make sure that you ask yes or no and wait for the prospect to actually respond, right? So question number 1 is, do you think this program is going to help you lose weight? Yes or no? Do you have X amount in your bank account or available on a credit card right now, or access to someone who does, or you're going to get paid within the next 30 days? Yes or no? And the third one is, am I the person and is this the business that you would like supporting you throughout this process? Yes or no? Awesome. Then we have the answers that we need. Let's just go ahead and do it. The reason that this one works so well is that people are afraid basically of making mistakes and they don't actually know how to make decisions. So you're basically leading them through a decision-making process. So don't ever underestimate how a little guidance goes a really long way in helping people make better decisions. All right, now here's 2 objection overcomes that you can use as a gym owner to overcome the I need to think about it excuse. And they go like this. I hear you. You're not gonna stay like this forever though, right? You're gonna sign up to do something about this sooner or later, right? So you might as well just do it sooner and start enjoying the results now, because it will never be the perfect time. Or you could say something like this. Totally understand. If this program were absolutely perfect and you knew when you signed up that in 6 weeks you'd be walking around in your dream body, would you sign up for it? Okay, cool. So then what is the program missing that makes it not perfect? Is it the program? Is it the price? Is it me? Is it the gym? Which is it? See, asking prospects to think of valid reasons is typically a really good move, since most people don't really know what to look for, which means that they're probably just basically afraid of making the decision to help themselves. And if they do name something as the problem, then you can just specifically address that obstacle, right? Now, here's another overcome. When a prospect hits you with the I need to think about it, here's the scale close that you can use. And it goes like this. Totally understand. So let's give me an estimate real quick. On a scale from 1 to 10, if 1 meant no way in hell, Cale, you suck, your gym sucks, and I hate you, and 10 being yes, totally in, I'm putting my money down, signing up right now. Where are you? Here's the thing, the response doesn't matter, but they will give you a number. Let's say it's a 7. Then you follow up with same thing like we did last time. Okay, interesting. Why is it a 7 instead of a 2? They're gonna give you all the reasons, right? And then what you're gonna do is, great. So based on all that, what's keeping it from being a 10? And then they're gonna tell you. And then all you have to do is address that one thing, all right? So again, some of these are used as ways to be able to isolate the actual objection again, because what we want to do is always try to figure out what is the real objection and how can I actually go after that, attack that, and then be able to diffuse it and then move forward with the sale. All right. Now, I do have a bonus objection overcome for you. And this one is actually a preset. So this is one that you can use before you even begin the sales. So you use this during the sales meeting. Before you begin, you throw this line down, especially in group pitches. So if you do group sales, this works insanely well. And it goes like this. We have one rule about people who do this program. They must make a decision same day. And the only reason that we have that is because we did it in the past without that. And what happens is that people who delay the decision, they just tend to be more wishy-washy, and they say that they want something, but they don't really. So they sign up and then they fall off. And it's not fun. So after having enough people think about it, right, and then come back, then fall off, we now know that those are the people who aren't successful. But when people come in and sign up straight off the bat, they do really, really well. So now we simply just ask people to make the decision for their own good and for our own good. So we don't have members who have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, because the only people who fail the program are the ones who had to think about it because they weren't committed enough in the beginning to make a decision. That's a really good one to do when, again, at the beginning, and just preset that. Here's another one that I have that I actually used to do. And this is if I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this was my final chance to actually close someone. I threw this out one day and I was shocked. The person actually came. They literally had the door open and were leaving. I had a group sale. They had the door open. They were 1 foot out when I said this, and they came back in, closed, and everyone else in the room closed as well. And everyone's jaw was on the floor. Basically, they were 1 foot out. And I was just like, hey, thank you so much for today. Just a heads up. And I lowered my tone. I was like, if you leave today, you're not allowed back. I paused. Everyone, I could sense just the shock in the room. And the lady was just like, what? And I was like, and here's why. In the past, I've had members that have, had the same thing. They're like, I want to go think about it. I want to come back and then I'll let you know. And they end up coming back. But the problem is they weren't fully invested in the program and they weren't fully committed to it. And so what happens is they start off hot. First week is great, but then they get a little bit sore or something comes up. And then they have that 6 a.m. session, which is the only time that they can go to it in the day. And it's a Friday and they're like, you know what, I'm going to hit the snooze and I'll go next week. And then they stop coming altogether and then they don't get results. And here's the thing, here at this facility, every single person that steps on my floor gets results. There's a reason why we're the best facility in the area and why we have all these testimonials here. And that is why I never let someone come back. And that's why everyone has to make a decision same day. That one worked. You got to make sure that your tonality on that is very, very calm, very graceful. Otherwise, it can come off really, really bad. So make sure you nail the tonality on that and the pace. All right, now moving forward. Here's a really great what if overcome that you can use as a gym owner when a prospect says that they want to think about it. All right, so we're still on kind of think about it. And basically you go like this. I totally understand your apprehension. One thing that a lot of people are afraid of is that if they sign up, they're gonna actually lose the weight and they're actually gonna have to do all the things necessary for that change. And sometimes coming to grips with that is actually really hard. All that I can tell you is that after responding to an ad, making time in your schedule and coming in today, to fall off when you are this close would be such a setback for you and your goals. I sometimes think like, what if I had not decided to start on the program that changed my life? Where would I be right now? And if you leave now, it may be a really long time before you hit another point where your health becomes a priority again. And you're gonna make a decision either way. One way will get you a lot further from your goal, and the other one will take you towards it. Why not take the one that makes a positive difference in your life right now? Okay, here's an objection that I really like for prospects that aren't sure if they wanna start and they're basically delaying. And we call it the unicorn close. And it goes like this. All right, cool, you need to think about it. I totally understand. So if you're going to do another program, what would it have that we're missing? Like what kind of unicorn program are you looking for here? Because you're gonna need all of these things. You're gonna need a personalized meal plan. You're gonna need a personal grocery list, a personal eating out guide, recipes specifically matched to your meal plan, like a super shake guide, bomb-ass breakfast recipes, lick your finger lunches, delectable dinners, all the stuff that we have. You're gonna need workouts with a trainer up to 3 times per week, your own personal accountability coach. So like, help me out here. What exactly is the program missing? I just gotta know. And then what's gonna happen is, in that situation, they're probably not gonna have anything. And so all you're gonna do is follow up and be basically like this. If you don't have any reason not to do this program and it has everything that you need to reach your goals, the only thing getting in the way right now is you, right? So let's just go ahead and do this. Let's take that first step. Otherwise, it'll always be something that you struggle with. Something where you knock on the door and then you run away, and then knock again and then run away. But we're standing here right now with our arms wide open, ready to help you. Good? Okay, last bit. Let's go over a couple fear-based overcomes, and then I got some bonus overcomes at the end. So this one is a banger right here. I love this one. So it goes like this. If someone's kind of like they're not sure, right? And they're a little fearful about making a decision. Basically, you're just gonna go this way. I hear you. Something that's really nice about my job is I get to see a lot of successful people, the things they do, the things that are different. One thing that I finally realized is life isn't really just about finding the perfect thing that's gonna work perfectly in that moment, because you never know if something is gonna work perfectly, right? Instead, success comes from getting uncomfortable, being uncomfortable. If everything was comfortable, obviously everyone would be a billionaire, right? With a 6-pack. See, if everything was easy, everyone would just do it. If you look at it, success is just typically right outside of that comfort zone. And the most successful people are the people that are really open to taking risks. We call that risk management. And the smartest people kind of take a look at, here's where I'm at. What's the risk of doing this stuff versus the risk of not doing things over here, right? So it's like, what's my ROI on this? What's the risk? What's the chances of success if I do this versus I don't do anything at all, right? And for you, I know obviously time is more important than anything for us. But when you look at what you said to me earlier around like, what happens if I don't do this? Maybe it makes sense to be a little uncomfortable so that you can be happier in the future. When you think about that, and when I bring this up, like what's going through your head? What are your thoughts on that? Notice how with this, you're basically breaking the belief around the idea is like they have this fear of getting uncomfortable. With that one, you're just trying to challenge that, and you're using super successful people as a way to do it instead of just going head on and trying to pound it into them of like, oh, you just have limiting beliefs. Instead, you're just using an analogy of like really smart people, billionaires. They usually work right outside their comfort zone because they understand that it's risk management, it's risk reward, and that in order to be able to see success, I've got to be able to step outside of that. And so that sets them up for success. And now what you do is you then are just start asking them, what's going through your head? What are your thoughts on that? Here's another overcome that you can use when a prospect isn't sure that they can join your gym and are expressing hesitation. It goes like this, all right? Prospects are going to say like, this sounds amazing. I would love to just sit on this before I jump into something. And then you say, yeah, I totally get that. And I don't want you to feel like you're jumping into something. That's why I really made sure that I was clear on the process. I know you said you got it, and I asked you, do you like A to Z, what we do? And you said yes. And really, I think the truth is it just feels like a lot, right? Even though it's pretty simple on how we can help you, it feels like a lot. To help with that feeling, right? One thing that I always think about is just realigning myself with what am I doing right now and what results am I getting? Because that's the beauty, right? You said that you like having support, right? A coach, a second pair of eyes. All the studies show that you can move faster and further with support. Just to give you some support right now, here's kind of how we look at it. And it's really, really simple, right? We take all the emotion out. And it's like currently based on what you're telling me that you want, you're basically on a pattern that's not serving you. The things that you're doing right now are not going to get you to where you want to go. And the question isn't whether or not this works. The question is, do you want to go somewhere else? I know for a fact right now, based off of what you told me, it's really important for you to do something else. Based on what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing is you're on a pattern that's not serving you. And that pattern needs to change. But at the end of the day, it has to be your choice. I can't make that choice for you. And I know earlier you told me a couple of things, but do you feel like it might be worth it to make a change? And then what they're going to say is they're going to say yes, right? And then you say, I think so too. I'm glad you said that, right? Because it's always going to be scary. It's always going to be a little uncomfortable, right? That's what we do though. We take calculated risks. That's what we have to do for people and our families more than anything. And I think it's tough, but that's just what life is. You have to make these tough decisions based off calculated risks. So what are you thinking right now? And then you can then dive in, make the close, overcome that belief, that fear of kind of taking that next step. All right. So there's 30 different overcomes that I just went over that you can use to overcome pretty much everything from price to fear. But we're not done yet. I want to give you some bonus ones specifically for like workout, nutrition specific objections. All right. So here's one for a workout related concern. And it's also really great for like, if someone's like, well, I'm really old, I'm too old for this, or I have a previous injury. Right? And it can go something like this. Yeah, totally understand. So before every session, we just make sure and we ask you that you let our trainers know if you have any pains or issues and that you're having, so we can make sure that we modify anything that's needed inside of the session. We'll also make sure that, we recommend some stretches for you to do to hopefully improve those issues. And these injuries should be one of the main reasons kind of why you sign up for the facility with a trainer, because you want to make sure that you have a professional when you're learning something new, especially if you have an injury or something that you've had nagging in the past, right? And what we found a lot with these kind of nagging injuries, or we're trying to recover from stuff, is they come a lot from strength imbalances or lack of strength in the musculature around the joint, which puts a lot more stress on it. So when we strengthen the muscles, many times the joint stabilizes and the pain goes away. Another one easy way to do this is just let people know we do a movement assessment. So like we do a movement assessment, we jot down exactly, where we see some issues. We do a full health intake or like movement intake form, and we make sure that we set you up for the right success. Now, another one would be like, what if a prospect asks, what if I get hurt? Here's how you answer that one. It is very unlikely that you will get hurt. The probability is absurdly low and is much lower than if you were just going to work out unsupervised on your own. That being said, if you did somehow get injured, which most likely if that was going to happen, it's going to be outside of the gym, right? Then what we would do is we just work around it so you don't skip a beat and you can continue on reaching your goal. Cool. Here's where, like, if you're a gym owner, if you ever had a prospect basically ask you, what if I don't like the workouts? Here's what you can use to basically diffuse that objection or smokescreen. Before this, disclaimer, nothing against Zumba. We're just using Zumba as an example here. All right. So you can fit in whatever you want. And basically what you're going to say is this. Well, I can tell you that it's not going to be Zumba or running on the beach with the wind in your hair, but it is going to be exactly what your body needs in order to look the way that you want it to look. And I can tell you that our members absolutely love the workouts, because otherwise, if they didn't, we wouldn't have a business, because no one would come back. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Cool? All right, sweet. So now another one would be, if you've ever had a prospect say something like, what if I get bored? Here's what you can say. Cool, totally understand. We vary the workouts constantly. And typically boredom comes from lack of progression. See, if you're getting better, faster, and stronger every time that you come into the gym, or leaner, right? Do you think that that would bore you or motivate you? Probably motivate you, right? Right, because most people just get bored because they just don't know how to progress inside of workouts. And that's where we come in with our expert coaching, our programming, and our experience. We know how to do this. And so progression is how workouts get addictive. And that's what this is all about. All right, now, if you're a gym owner and you don't do free classes, right? So you always make sure that people come in either for a sales consultation or they have to come in for an assessment. This is one that you can use to overcome, can I try a workout first? And I have 2 different variations for this, okay? So here's an easy overcome for it. And this is option number 1. We actually don't let people who come in for the program that you're signing up for do workouts first. Main reason is it just, I'm gonna be frank with you, it just doesn't really matter. You're gonna do some cardio to burn maximal calories. You're going to do some resistance training to tone your muscles and rebuild your metabolism. But at the end of the day, you already know what you gotta do, right? It's not gonna be Zumba. You're gonna sweat, you're gonna get sore, but you're also gonna get what you walked in here for. The number on the scale that we talked about, and your dream body. So that's one. The other one would be, I use this a lot because I always made sure that I did movement assessments before anyone else stepped on my floor. So I had a full tracking sheet, all this stuff, anytime we had clients. This is even when we were 250 plus clients in a large group training facility and some semi-private. Basically, I would just be like, totally understand, I get it. But here's the deal. I don't let anybody on my floor without doing a movement screen first and a movement assessment, because I always check to make sure if you have previous injuries, if you have any limitations, mobility issues, we always make sure that, because we program and we change our workouts and our exercises based on every single individual that comes in. And so if I have you step on that floor without doing that, number one, our coaches aren't going to understand what's going on, and they're not going to be able to coach you to the best of their ability, which means that you're going to have not as good of an experience as the rest of our clients. And the other thing is, I've never seen you move. I don't know how, if you know the movements, I don't know anything else. And that means it's going to take away from my clients right now that are paying me really good money to coach them exceptionally well. And that's why I always make sure I protect the experience of my clients. And so that's why you can expect the same from me when you become a client. I'm never going to take away from your experience to focus on someone who just wants to hop in for a free class. Cool? Great. Okay. Now here's another one. If you ever had a prospect ask you, what if I get too sore, right? Or I don't want to get too bulky. And they're saying that during a sales consult. Here's basically the super easy way that you can overcome that. We actually have protocols to deal with this exact situation. So when you come in for your nutrition orientation, we're going to talk about this in depth, right? If anything, it's one of the reasons people do this program over others. It's that simple, super easy. All right. Now here's an overcome if you get hit with the, I can't start until next week excuse. This is just kind of a delay a little bit, but kind of not. They're like, yeah, I'm ready to close, but just like, I can't start. Right? All you do is just be like, no problem. We have a new group starting that date, so you'll be just in time. This also works. This one works for the I'm busy until next Friday excuse. You just want to basically be like, okay, cool, not a problem. We'll just start you then. We can take the payment down, right? Now, if you're a gym owner that starts people on specific days, like for a challenge, here's an overcome for when a prospect asks, can I start right now? Because sometimes that comes up. People like to do it in cohorts and they run their challenges every 2 weeks, and that's how they onboard people, and that's their onboarding system, right? Or maybe you're a CrossFit facility and you have your on-ramps, and your on-ramps are on specific days, and maybe they start on a Tuesday, but it's a Friday and you're closing someone, right? And they're like, can I start right now? You can be like, you can absolutely start right now, but after having seen this literally hundreds of times, I can tell you the best thing to do is to basically give yourself some time of mental preparation for this, right? This is going to be much harder emotionally than it will be physically, trust me. And so we have found it works best if you relax for a few days before you get started, or for a week, however long that time frame is, right? Get those last cravings out of your system and realize that, it's just food, right? And then come in next week so you can start with the group all together, ready to rock, and you'll crush it. Cool? Okay. Now, if you're a gym owner that's ever been asked, what certifications do you have during a sales consult, then here's what you should reply with. Unless you just love certifications and you feel like they're the greatest thing in the world, just disregard this and you can gush over all the certifications that you have. When at the end of the day, I think for most of us, certifications are good from an insurance perspective, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. This is how you start this, right? They ask you, what certs do you have? First thing you need to do is basically be like, which ones are you looking for? They never know. They're just asking because they feel like they've been told by someone to ask. Like they were told by their aunt or their cousin's nephew's best friend to be like, make sure you ask them if they have certifications. Just be like, cool, which ones are you looking for? They never know. And then you basically be like, well, I'll tell you what. The reason I ask that is because most people don't know this, but the entire industry is pretty much a farce. Some certifications are just $500 in a weekend, and most are just completed for insurance purposes. So instead, what we've done is we built our own in-house certification that we put our trainers through to make sure that they coach at the highest levels. We also require that our trainers coach over 1,000 sessions before getting the title Master Trainer. And all of our staff, but one, are Master Trainers, right? So you have nothing at all to worry about. Cool? All right. You can obviously adjust that to however you want. Obviously, that's not what you do, then don't worry about it, but all good. So if you're a gym owner that runs goal-based challenges and a prospect comes at you and says, this goal seems unattainable or unrealistic, here's what you can say to do that. Most things do seem pretty unrealistic until we usually have some context, right? So if you worked at a facility that had 10 to 15 people a week weighing out and hitting their goals, do you think that you would still say that's unrealistic? Probably not, right? And besides, we don't actually make our money from the program. We make our money off of memberships, right? And the investment is only there to motivate you, hold you accountable. And believe it or not, we actually offered this program in the past without a deposit. And we had over 100 people signed up for it. And guess what happened? No one finished because they had no skin in the game. So like I said, if we could just sign people up straight as members, we would, but this seems to be the best first step to get people results fast and get them the momentum that they need to change their lives. So check out the wall behind me. Look at all these testimonials. Okay, so if you're a gym owner that offers nutrition coaching or challenges and ever had a prospect that basically is like, can I drink alcohol? Here's a really easy overcome for that. And usually these are like things you can just swipe aside. But basically what you're gonna say is no, but you can't do as many drugs as you want. I'm kidding, right? Unfortunately, what got you here isn't going to get you to your end goal. But later, we will provide you with an ongoing diet that will allow for a little bit more of an expansive food list. The list of acceptable foods for now is meant to simplify this process for you in the beginning. And so we truly believe in eliminating before we moderate, because in our experience, there just aren't a lot of people who can have just one drink. And so we just don't really like to tempt fate. Okay, those were 42 objection overcomes that you can use as a gym owner right now to close more memberships, collect more cash, and change more lives. Now, if you like this kind of stuff, there are two things that you can do to get more of this. One, we have a free school community where we do live calls, have trainings, and answer questions. If you're a gym owner that wants to grow your business and virtually be around a bunch of other gym owners looking to grow, the link to join that group is down below. Second, like and subscribe so we can keep serving you up content like this. And always remember, gym owners rule.